United States of America. I am making this video in response to an interview granted today by Professor Auwalu Yadudu at AIT Online. The interview was conducted by Mr. Amechi Anakwe. There were a couple of questions, I think between 15 and 20 questions, and the Prof, in his characteristic manner, goofed and misinformed the listeners throughout that interview, and I am going to touch upon several of these misinformation. Number one, on the issue of the constitutional process in Nigeria, the Prof has this to say. He said constitution is an organic document, and I agree with that. That means it's something that is subject to changes as time goes on. But then I don't know if it is out of error or maybe kind of suffering memory loss. I don't know what that is. But he referred to Section 8 as the section that has to do with the amendment of that fraudulent 1999 Constitution. Actually, it is Section 9, Professor Yadudu. It is not Section 8. Also, going further, in the process of changing the Constitution, he actually made an assumption that the people made that Constitution, which is a grave error. Now, I would also like to talk about the question concerning the amendment of that Constitution itself. And he made some serious revelations, which of course we go into it towards the end of my presentation. Now, on the issue of the Constitution concerning, the origin, Professor Yadudu confessed that the 1999 Constitution is the reincarnation of the 1979 Constitution. It was an open confession. He made it very clear that there was no Constitution written in 1999. What they did was to photocopy the 1979 Constitution and made adjustments here and there. Now, in comparing the 1963 Constitution with the 1999 Constitution, Professor Yadudu did not tell the listener how the 1963 Constitution came about vis-a-vis how the 1999 Constitution came about. He only said that there was a move or a change from the parliamentary system to the presidential system. Now the question is, who made that move from parliamentary to presidential? How was the move made from the parliamentary to the presidential? And who authorized that move from the parliamentary system to the presidential system? He never answered that question. And now, this is the part that really showed that the Prof was being economical with the truth, or that he actually doesn't understand what he was saying. He was asked questions about resource control. And Professor Yadudu told the audience, the listener, that there was no such thing as derivation in the 1963 Constitution. As a matter of fact, he misinformed the listener by quoting Section 136 of the 1963 Constitution, which has to do with taxes on imported refined petroleum products. That is what Section 136 is all about. But that is not the whole truth. In Section 140 of the 1963 Constitution, it talked about mining royalties and rents. It goes there to state that 50% of all the money realized from the sale of any mineral goes to the region where that mineral was exploited or extracted from. And it goes further in section 5, or rather subsection 5 of section 140. I'm talking about section 140, subsection 5. It goes further to define what mineral says. It says that the mineral includes oil and gas. Section 140, subsection 5 of the 1963 Constitution. Going further, it says that apart from the 50% that goes to the region, that 30% of the remaining 50 goes into what is called distributable pool account. And in that distributable pool account, a portion of it, not less than 24%. In fact, it was 24, 41 and 32 in that ratio goes to the various regions. So in addition to the 50% that by default goes to the region where the mineral comes from, there is also a percentage of 30% of the remaining 50% that goes to that same region as well. And Professor Yadudu never mentioned any of this. Instead, he was taking the listeners to section 136. So he goofed and he was wrong on that. Now, the funny thing that Professor Yadudu said, that those calling for the decommissioning of the 1999 Constitution are being lazy. That was what he said. That for the call for the decommissioning of the fraudulent 1999 Constitution is a call by lazy people. How can that be so? He ended up by concluding that the way out is to modify or amend the Constitution according to the regulations stated in the Constitution. And that brings me to the point I mentioned earlier about constitutional amendment. Let me bring this very close and clear, concise to anybody watching me, that the amendment of Nigeria's 1999 Constitution is subject to the approval of the president. I know that will shock you. Yes, according to section 9, for any portion of that constitution to be amended, it must be done through an act of parliament. An act of parliament means that the Senate and the House of Rep will propose a bill, put a bill and write it and then vote for it and then send it to the president for assent or approval. Meaning that if the president does not approve it, then that is it. By the way, for it to get to the point where the president will approve it, or even to the point where it will be presented to the president. First of all, the 24 states out of the 36 states in Nigeria must approve of it. Secondly, 240 members of House of Rep must approve of it. And third, 73 members of Senate must approve of it. That means these three conditions must be accomplished before the act is now generated and presented to the president, who may or may not sign it. The president is not obliged, is not under any obligation to sign the amended constitution. Now, let us look at what happens with other constitutions in the world. I have three examples. American Constitution. Why am I using American Constitution? Because the current fraudulent 1999 Constitution, which is the reincarnation of the 1979 Constitution, was patterned after the American presidential system. Another example I'm going to use is the Ethiopian Constitution. Why am I using the Ethiopian Constitution? I'm using the Ethiopian Constitution because the Ethiopian Constitution is one of the most modern constitutions done in 1994 under a civilian regime. It is the constitution, or one of the few constitutions, that enshrined the African Charter on Human Rights and People's Rights into the Constitution. Because if you go to Article 39 of the Ethiopian Constitution, you will see it clearly stated in the Constitution, not as part of the laws of the Federation. In the Constitution, I mean, Article 39 of the Ethiopian Constitution says that every indigenous people have a right to self-determination, including right to secession. It's right here in Article 39, subsection 1 of the Ethiopian Constitution. So that's why I'm going to use the Ethiopian Constitution as an example. Then the third example I'm going to use is the Ghanaian Constitution. Why am I using the Ghanaian Constitution? Because many people sometimes give the flimsy excuse that, Nigerian Constitution, you don't have to blame them. They were in a military regime. That is why I'm bringing the Ghanaian Constitution, because Ghanaian Constitution was drafted under a military regime, similar to what Nigeria was under General Abdulsalami Abubakar. And by the way, it was even done 3 years before the 1999 Constitution. So here we go. The United States Constitution in Article 5 described how the amendment of the Constitution will take place. And it made it very clear. As a matter of fact, I don't want to paraphrase. I am going to read it directly so that we know. It says, and it goes this way, Article 5, the Congress, whenever 2/3 of both houses shall deem it necessary, shall propose amendment to this Constitution, or on the application of the legislations of 2/3 of the several states, shall call a convention for proposing amendment, which in either case shall be valid to all intents and purposes as part of this Constitution, when ratified by the legislature of 3/4, that's 75%, of the several states, or by convention in 3/4 thereof, as the one or the other mode of ratification by may be proposed by the Congress. In other words, once the draft is set out, it goes through 75% of the number of states, and it is ratified by the Congress, and that is it. It is not subject to any approval by the President of the United States. That is Article 5 of the U.S. Constitution. Let us go to Ethiopian Constitution. Ethiopian Constitution and Article 105 deals with amendment of the Constitution. It has the amendment in two forms. The first form is where you have the State Council and the House of Representatives and the House of Federation, which is like the Senate. They vote individually to get a vote of 2/3 for each of them. And once they achieve 2/3 on a particular amendment on each of these three segments, the amendment is automatically approved. The second one is where they now come together in plenary. In other words, we have the Council of States, or what they call the State Council, the House of Representatives, and the House of the Federation, where they meet in plenary, that's together, and they vote, and they get 2/3. That is it. It is not subject to presidential approval, or it is not going to be put like a bill which the president will have to assent to. Now, let us go to the Ghanaian Constitution, which is similar to what Yadudu was talking about, but was done by people who really meant well for their country. Now, in chapter 25 of the Ghanaian Constitution, which is section 289 all the way to section 292 of the Ghanaian constitution. That is the portion of the constitution that has to do with amendment. Remember, this is a military regime like Nigeria had under General Abdulsalami Abubakar. The constitution of Ghana is divided into two portions. You have what they call the entrenched provisions and the non-entrenched provisions. The entrenched provisions are most of the things that affect, the structure, the governance, the police, the security, and then the minor ones are the non-entrenched provisions. Now, it says that whenever an amendment is about to happen, that it will go through a first reading in the parliament, and then after that, it will now be subjected to a referendum. Did you hear that? It will be subjected to a referendum. And once it is subjected to a referendum, and they are able to get 75% vote in support, then it goes to the parliament, and parliament will shall pass it. And once the parliament passes it, now, I want everybody to be listening carefully now what the Constitution of Ghana says. It says, once the parliament passes it, it says the president shall assent to it. It says the president shall assent to it. I'm sure lawyers who are listening to me or who are watching me, when I use the word shall, they understand what I'm talking about. The Constitution did not give any room for the president to maneuver. It says once the parliament passes it, the president shall assent to that bill, and it becomes the amended constitution. The same thing goes to the non-entrenched provision. The only thing with the non-entrenched provision is that it has to be approved by the parliament only. And when it's approved by the parliament, then it goes to the president, and the president shall assent to it. There is no room. Unlike the Nigerian constitution, where in section 9, the National Assembly will now have to propose a bill to amend the constitution. And one thing with a bill, once you propose a bill, it goes to the president to either sign or not to sign. In the Ghanaian constitution, it is mandatory that the president must sign it. In the Nigerian constitution, it was nebulous. It does not. There's no mandatory requirement for the president to sign the amended constitution. So even the ones, the rigmarole they are doing now, the jamboree they are doing now, calling it constitutional amendment, it goes to Buhari. If at all it will get to him by the time before he leaves office. He has every authority not to approve it, because there is nothing mandating him. There is nothing mandating him. So where are we going with all this? Where we are going with all this is that Professor Auwalu Yadudu was economical. He probably didn't understand what he was talking about. But I just want us to understand this and take home this point. One is that the constitution of any country is resting on 3 pillars. I repeat, 3 pillars. One, the constitution of a country defines the union. It is in the constitution that you will find that union. Without a constitution, there is no union. That's number one. Number two, the constitution of a country defines the rules and the regulations governing that country. In other words, it is inside the constitution that you have the rules, you have the do's and the don'ts, and who will do what in the constitution. Then number 3 is the constitution of a country that defines the structure of that country, be it political, be it administrative, be it governance structure. Anything structure is defined in the constitution. And that is why the fraudulent 1999 constitution, you can see that the union is defined in the preamble as well as in section 1. Subsection 1 of that constitution. The preamble says that, let me read it straight so that it doesn't look like I'm paraphrasing. It says, we the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, having firmly and solemnly resolved to live in unity and harmony as one indivisible and indissoluble sovereign nation under God, dedicated to the promotion of African solidarity, world peace, and international cooperation and understanding. In other words, it says, we the people. That means we the Igbos, we the Ogonis, we the Ijos, the Isokos, the Shekiris, the Urobos, the Okpes, the Berom, the Tiv, the Jukuns, the Hausas, the Fulani, the Galas, the Gwari, the Bibios, the Anang, the Epic, that we have resolved firmly and solemnly, for that matter. You need to go and find out the meaning of solemn. Solemnly, that we have resolved to live together in unity and harmony as one indivisible entity. That means the union. The second one, which is defining the rules and regulations, it says, we do hereby, having agreed to form a union, we do hereby make and enact and give unto ourselves the following rules and regulations. And it goes further. In the very first section and first subsection of the fraudulent 1999 Constitution, to say that this Constitution is supreme and its provision shall have binding force. Again, the word shall have binding force on the authorities and persons throughout the Federation of Nigeria. So it's saying that we make these following rules, and this rule must mandatorily be obeyed by everybody within the geographical entity called Nigeria. And then the last one, which is the structure. If you go to, it started in section 2, anyway, subsection 1. It said that Nigeria should be one indivisible sovereign state. And then section 2 says Nigeria shall be a federation consisting of state and federal capital. Now, but the real deal, the place where the structure of Nigeria is established in Nigerian Constitution is section 3. And section 3 is a section that affects over 90% of other parts of the Constitution. Section 9 is affected by section 3. Section 4, subsection 5 is affected by section 3. Section 47 is affected by section 3. Section 49 is affected by section 3. Section 134, subsection 2, which is what they use to determine who will be the president of Nigeria, is affected by section 3. And then the one that made Lagos State to be losing billions of dollars and naira every year is section 162. The same thing that is making the Niger Delta and the eastern part losing billions of money from their natural resources, section 162, is also affected by section 3. So you see what I'm talking about. You have the union, you have the rules and regulations, and then you have the structure. These three pillars are what forms a constitution. Remove any of the legs, and then everything will come crashing. If there is no union, then that is it. If we did not agree, which NINAS is talking about, that we did not agree to make any regulation to get ourselves, that's the end of it. And of course, we never ever agreed to have 36 states. Before going to independence, what the founding fathers agreed and the various regions agreed was to have regional system. It was Gowon and his group on the 27th of May 1967 who destroyed the foundational agreement of Nigeria. And since that time, that word federation died, because a federation is an entity formed by the federating unit. It is the federating unit that forms the federation. It is not the federation that forms the federating unit. It's like saying that a tail will whack the dog. No, it is the dog that whacks the tail. And so I want to conclude this with this. Let me even make a simple confession here that all this while I have been talking about the 1999 Constitution written by Abdulsalami Abubakar or Auwalu Yadudu. I think I was wrong. I have discovered that I was wrong. The 1999 Constitution was not written. In fact, there was no constitutional drafting committee. No, there was nothing like that. Instead, what they had was a constitutional debating committee. I think I have the report here by Justice Nikitobi. It is called Constitution Debate Coordinating Committee, CDCC. So there was not even the 1999 Constitution was not written. Rather, it was a photocopy of the 1979 Constitution with minor adjustments here and there, because after 79 we had 19 states, and then in 1999 we had 36 states, courtesy of military junta. And of course, we have 6 schedules in 79 and 7 schedules in 99, and then they just shuffle things here and there. 1999 Constitution was not written. It was photocopied. It is a reincarnation of the 1979 Constitution. And by the way, talking about the 1979 Constitution, when Obasanjo, after the death of Murtala Muhammad, handpicked the members of Constituent Assembly to review a constitution that was written by 2 persons, Professor Ben Nwabweze, he is still alive, at least as of today, and the late Chief Rotimi Williams. They finished their work, and then Obasanjo handpicked. By the way, when I refer to Obasanjo, I'm not referring to him on any tribal ground, but on the fact that he was the head of state. It's just like a football team. Anything happens, it is the coach that we know. So he was the head of state. He handpicked Constituent Assembly members. And to his surprise, the Constituent Assembly members rejected so many of the things written by Professor Ben Nwabweze and Chief Rotimi Williams. And they finished their work and submitted back to Obasanjo. What did Obasanjo do? On the 21st of September 1978, Obasanjo made a national broadcast and he introduced 17 amendments into the finished work of the Constituent Assembly. The same Constituent Assembly he handpicked, thinking they will rubber stamp the work of Ben Nwabweze and Rotimi Williams. They surprised him and removed a lot of things, including the states, because they said that we did not agree to have states when we are going to independence. And I would not agree to have a presidential system because it's a massive power in the center, and it wasn't what we agreed on. Obasanjo introduced 17 amendments to reverse the work of the Constituent Assembly and bring it back to the same thing that Ben Nwabweze and Rotimi Williams wrote. And what happened? He used a military decree to promulgate that document into a constitution. My dear people, tell me where a properly made constitution is not subjected to a referendum or plebiscite. It is not autochthonous. It is that 1979 non-autochthonous constitution that Justice Nikitobi and his Constitution Debate Coordinating Committee now photocopied and adjusted and called 1999 Constitution and imposed this on us. Therefore, let me close with this. I want to put the world on notice that what happened on the 29th of May, 1999, is an act of treason. And by the grace of God, from General Abdulsalami Abubakar to Olusegun Obasanjo to, well, Yaradua is dead now, to Goodluck Jonathan and to Muhammad Buhari, they will all be charged for treason because they committed treason against the indigenous peoples of Nigeria. They stole their sovereignty, their inalienable right to determine their future. I am therefore using this opportunity to ask you, wherever you are, it doesn't matter, you may be from Nigeria, you may be outside of Nigeria, you may be a non-Nigerian, to work with the Nigerian Indigenous Nationality Alliance for Self-Determination, NINAS, to ensure that this travesty is reversed, to ensure that this act of treason, of hijacking our sovereignty by Abdulsalami Abubakar, all the way to every one of them who has sworn to defend, uphold, and govern by that treasonous document called the 1999 Constitution. Support NINAS to make sure that we decommission the 1999 Constitution and allow the people to decide whether they want to recommit to being in the Nigerian Union. First of all, they must make that decision. Then after that, those who want to recommit, or those who recommitted, or those who want to be in the Union can now begin to generate their own constitution. That is what I want to pass to the world. Thank you very much, and God bless you.